Citation on Dr. Mustapha Ayodele Popoola, Special Assistant to the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Food Security on Livestock, Innovation, and Nutrition Security. Mustapha Ayodele Popoola, we know him popularly as NAP, if you like, you can say MAP. PhD is a member of the Presidential Livestock Reform Implementation Committee under the chairmanship of the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. He is the Special Assistant to the Minister who said that before this appointment, he was a visiting researcher at the World Bank-funded Africa Center of Excellence on Data Sciences, University of Rwanda. Between 2017 and 2019, he was appointed a visiting researcher at the Animal and Dairy Sciences Department at Mississippi State University, Starkville, United States. He was a Bill Gates traveler representing Nigeria on animal biotechnology at Virginia Tech, Maryland, USA, and an associate professorial fellow of global studies at the Center of Excellence on Migration and Global Studies, National Open University of Nigeria. I think he deserves a round of applause. He conceptualized the many special mega research grant intervention of over 4 billion naira distributed among 5 consortia. He was the pioneer chairman of the steering committee on the innovative agricultural postgraduate training program facilitated by the Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa, FARA, named Agricultural Research and Innovation for Africa, in collaboration with 40 Brazilian universities. He has served on the National Research and Development Foundation, Executive Bill Granting Committee, and led the technical secretariat of the 15-member technical coordination team of the Research and Development Standing Committee, comprising about 150 professors, the top 20 captains of industry, and the chief executive of government MBAs, among other members. He has research and development work affiliations in the United States and across Europe, and has done postdoctoral work in Italy, Australia, Germany, Kenya, and the United States. He has been invited and hosted over 30 countries with over 60 international working travels till date. He has a doctorate in project management honoris causa awarded by the Commonwealth University. He is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Mentoring and Coaching Nigeria, fellow of the Institute of Chartered Economists of Nigeria, fellow of the Development Practice Academy, and a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Management Consultants. He sits on the advisory board of Alan Green Recycling, Green Skills, and Fly Globe Mills, to mention but a few. He is the founder, Global Impact Officer of Research for Impact Knowledge Economy and Sustainable Development, a Pan-African Research as a Service organization launched in September 2023. To translate his knowledge wealth to financial wealth, he co-founded Afromina Food Canada Incorporated. He currently serves as the president and CEO of Ontario, Canada-based company. He engages with the Agricultural Donor Working Group and has made over 35 international donors and development partners operating in Nigeria. Dr. M.A. Popoola is happily married with children. I think we should give him a round of applause. We need to replicate that gene. Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of NSAP, dear audience, it is my pleasure to invite and present us Dr. M.A. Popoola for the keynote address of the 50th Annual Conference, Nigerian Society for Animal Production.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Let me first and foremost give the glory to Almighty God who has made today one of the best days for all of us to actually make it to FuLafia. Permit me to actually not stand on the existing protocol, but actually adopt and adapt it, so that at least I will not be going down the table, but there is no way I actually want to manage that effectively if I still don't actually observe some of the protocol. His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, is really appreciated to actually create this occasion. We have many excellencies that are here, present. It is important for me to sincerely appreciate our Chief Host and the Vice Chancellor of FuLafia. Thank you so much. And at the same time, the President of NSAP and the entire Executive Council. I appreciate essentially the Board of Trustees, the founding father of this particular association, and all other people that have actually preceded me in giving keynote addresses for over 50 years. Let me especially thank our predecessors and founding fathers, very senior people in the profession of animal profession. For me, it's an homecoming, and I believe I'm actually in my paternal compartment with people here today. So, coming to the knowledge domain, where one can actually discuss the subject of animal production and animal science, something that I find very, very warming. Recently, the fact that people that are here are people that understand what we want to discuss from knowledge standpoint. And essentially, that is what can actually drive the sector. It is not about narratives. It is not about the story. It is not about the media. It is about the knowledge that can actually give us the kind of results. Permit me to actually step a bit and especially recognize my boss, Professor S.D. Bugolo, who actually made it impossible for me to totally relocate to the US in the year 2019. That was the policy that he took from me, by appointing me as his technical assistant on research and development matters at Bedford. And I think that was a transformative period for me as a person, and for me to actually understand what the AI ecosystem look like in Nigeria. And that has been a defining moment about anything that we've been doing since then, because what am I doing in the US eating rice when I can actually see a lot of problems to be solved? I couldn't see the problem before. He gave me the opportunity to accomplish. So, I actually have a very few time, but I'll attempt to actually do justice. Special thanks again to His Excellency, Placid Ibioko. These are people that they are three brothers anyway, that's why they came together. So the two of them are actually source of inspiration to some of us. Many of you might not be able to guess the name of Professor Ayodele, but I know maybe because of his latest celebration on the platform of the Yaza and NSAP, who might guess his age. The man is actually over 70 years. And if somebody has actually taken quality animal protein, this is going to be the look at 70. Okay, so thank you so much. This is just a climate setting arrangement for me. And I believe I need to actually do justice to the topic I need to discuss. I have two different versions of my presentation. One is going to be speaking to the specifics, and there is a prose that actually gives exactly what I meant to communicate. Permit me to sincerely appreciate the organizer for finding the body to actually come here and be the golden jubilee keynote speaker for the conferences of NSAP. It's not something I'm actually taking for granted. I looked at it and I said, what have been the eligibility criteria that made a man to be the one speaking to everybody? I will not forget to appreciate all my friends that have joined worldwide. I have business partners that have joined from Qatar, some are joining from Canada this morning, online. some from Congo, a lot from different African countries. Actually, some were chatting this from 9 o'clock to see when it is starting. Thank you so much for those people that are online too. And I personally want to say, Professor, I don't think they have promised to join. Maybe it's online. Thank you so much, sir. So let me quickly go into the business of the day after all this protocol, and then if I've actually committed any, please kindly pardon me. And it's not the last or the least, but I sincerely appreciate every physical audience that I have here. I have my teachers here. I have my colleagues here. Professor Nati, thank you so much for teaching us well in the University of London. And a couple of other people that are here, colleagues. It's a great privilege for me to actually speak today. I will not be able to speak to my 10 pages keynotes. I'll quickly go into some of the points. I will leave the material as a reference for the society, and I want us to actually look at some of the key points. I'm to give a keynote, but please kindly convert my keynote to key points. And I want it to be actionable because of the privilege of some insights I'm going to be sharing. Let me start by telling us that the new journey into the new livestock sector we have in Nigeria today cannot be completed without giving special credence to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I'll tell you 3 things that are very essential, and then you will agree with me why we need to actually recognize it specially. This is the President for the first time that took a bold step to look at that sector that has been locked under the umbrella of agriculture and give it a nomenclature. As of today, we are going to be hearing about livestock subsector before today. Today, we are talking about livestock sector. That is fundamental, and that is a defining line about what we used to be and what we are doing now. That's number 1. Number 2, I was privileged to have joined this government through my appointment as an SA to the Honorable Minister about 18 months ago. Actually, I was doing my different things at the African Center of Excellence on Data Science when I had the call to come and serve the country. I didn't return and do what I was doing. Ordinarily, it would have been very lovely for me to come back with a lot of data certificates to come and actually explore the agricultural sector. But not minding that, we came back and about 18 months ago, the journey actually started. I had the privilege of hearing the true story today, what really happened. And that is the essence of the conference. 1, the President, after reviewing and receiving the report from the Cabinet Committee, we need to give credence to the APC chairman, who was then the governor of Kano State, who looked at the problem of the elder farmer crisis and put up a committee. So, and when the President received that report, he was very objective to ask questions from the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and said to him, this is a report, the person that gave it to me is our national chairman now. Is it a political report or what? To take this particular report, go ahead and review it and come and talk to me objectively if this particular report is something that we should go along and make sure that at least we implement. One of the key recommendations in that report is the creation of livestock regime. So, upon receiving that particular instruction from the President after the Federal Executive Council meeting, the minister returned to the office and as an essay on livestock, he called me and said, wait, come, this issue that I've been talking about, I don't want you to be biased. Can you go ahead and give me a position paper and possibly a justification for either the creation of this ministry or otherwise? So I went into my corner and I tried as much as possible to see that one, my audience enlightened this position paper as Mr. President. So I need to put up my temperature. There was the time I now realized the importance of being into many countries. And I actually copiously quote examples of where livestock is actually leading in crop sector. And one of them was the youngest state in India. I was privileged to have traveled with the Honorable Minister to the World Price of Food in Aroa in 2003. And that state came to that particular meeting to come and tell the whole world that in their own state, Telangana, in India, livestock sector contribution to GDP is more than that of crop. That was the message. So, making reference to that, I was able to actually create a very good position paper, and it was very clear. I've been living as somebody that is in life success. When an opportunity arose to actually create a ministry, why would I say no? So, we went into it, fake memo followed, and many other things. And when Mr. President understood clearly the figures, being an accountant, every other jargon we were talking is not very important, but the figures were important. And you can see that there is an unlocked tap of over 30 trillion naira sector that is being punished or under the cabinet. The president can actually complain that. Why is it that we cannot open that and let me add it to my GDP? The other was the time he was talking about $1 trillion economy. So, Mr. President considered vividly the role of livestock sector in contributing to that $1 trillion naira, the $1 trillion economy by 2030. And that was why he accelerated the inauguration of the Presidential Livestock Reform Implementation Committee to technically advise him and at the same time come up with reports and show him in clear story objectively what this livestock sector can do to the economy. Permit me at this point to sincerely request everybody to kindly be on their feet and appreciate Mr. President for giving us a sector. We will not have done this. We will not be here today talking about anything that is going to be the new face. Please kindly be seated. So, Mr. President, through the NSAP, will have seen what you have done to honor him and respect him for what he has done. So, I believe sincerely that with that singular decision of Mr. President, our stories have changed that day. And that is what we are actually celebrating today. So, when I look at the theme for this particular year's event, 3 key words were actually in alignment with that of Mr. President. The first thing is transformation. President don't want to see traditional livestock practices. He wants a transition. And before he can unlock 33 trillion naira, definitely he will be doing something different. So he was particular about reforms, and he was actually looking at how can all of us work together in doing that. So, in achieving that, Mr. President was very determined. When we make our submission to him to say this is the name of the ministry, I can assure you, even the minister, even everybody did not know until the day that naming ceremony of that ministry was done. And he personally called it Federal Ministry of Livestock Development. Development underlined. People are saying livestock resources, said no. Livestock and fisheries, said no. Livestock development. What does that mean to an accountant? What it means to president is that we must use that particular sector to drive development. So I'm saying all of this because I want this clarity, so that we know where the vision of the president is and what do we need to do and why is NSAP important. Because if NSAP is about production and the president is talking about development, then there's no way we want to actually have a difference. Now we are looking at transformation. It is only through transformation you can do wealth creation. And it is through wealth creation you can actually have growth. 3 of them are part of the theme for this year talk. And I believe that essentially Mr. President has represented that, and we need to actually give you the necessary support to deliver that particular development across our sector. What are our tools? Our own tools is actually to look at different value chains. So when you have the value chains, what are we doing differently in those value chains? Permit me to actually still step in it and give more information about the activities of the Presidential Livestock Reform Implementation Committee. I'm trying to set all this background so that we know where we are coming from. The journey for the past 18 months is different from the journey we used to know. And I can say to you that this was a 25-member committee that the president himself is actually chairing, and is being co-chaired by Professor Ayodele. It was deliberate to say, I do not have time, but I want this committee to be functional. What the committee do? Immediately we received that assignment, I was privileged to have been a member, courtesy of my nomination as Honorable Minister, to actually work as a technocrat on that particular committee. We divided ourselves into 5, and then we see the areas we are looking at. The first one has to do with procedure and practice for establishment of the Ministry of Livestock. That was a group working on that. My group was working on the investment, is working on the infrastructure master plan for livestock sector. There's another group that was actually looking at models, business models and the investment models in the livestock sector. Another group was actually working on some cross-cutting issues. And all of us are working together in such a way that we actually have our objectives for the initiative. We are handed over, it was 16 TORs were handed over to us. That 16 terms of references of the committee were further developed into 22 objectives. That was essentially the reform objectives. And then we look at it and say, from these objectives, we created nothing less than 120 reform activities or initiatives. One of them, just one of them, is the creation of livestock ministry. There's already 119 that is waiting. And that is the work that we need to actually do as a people, as a community, so that we will actually have the desired destination. We can see it where we are going. And then for us, we went further to now have 3,164 key performance indicators to measure that 119 or 120 key initiative. That is the work of PSR. A lot of us are actually looking, what is this committee and what is it doing? So people are actually asking questions. So we have a ministry, what are we in the committee? So what the committee did was to actually create an enabling environment for that ministry to travel. An enabling environment for the ministry to have something to start with. And I cannot thank everybody enough. I don't know how many members of the committee that are here, but the Excellency Professor Plaza Yudugu, please be on your feet, sir, so that you can be recognized for hard work. It's not easy to actually add 3,164 indicators for only livestock sector in Nigeria. Thank you so much, Bob, and other colleagues on the committee. You will see their picture there, and our chairman and some of them are actually doing that. Is Professor here? Any member of PLRS? Thank you so much. So, while we do that, the next thing we did was that we had our national consultative forum engagement. After doing that, the president directed that, please, as federal government, we don't have land, go to the states. All these English we are speaking of, we are taking to the states. Then we embark on what we call the state level stakeholders engagement. Within the span of the period between September last year and now, I think we have actually visited 6 states. We started with Bauchi State, who invited us first. We moved to Plateau State, and after that, I think we moved to Borno State. From Borno, we moved to Osun State. From Osun State, we were invited in Niger, and the last was Jigawa State. At all this engagement, it was clear to us what are the problems of the sector. We thought, when we sat there in Abuja, we have prepared everything, but when we got to the field, we saw a lot of things that actually are amazing. So this is part of the new things that we're actually doing, and as we are doing that, we're actually preparing reports. Only last week, when we were actually doing that, I believe we're going to take it to the existence. Mr. President, in his wisdom again, looked at our committee and the co-chair of that particular committee and appointed him special advisor to the president and coordinator of livestock reform. That is the president of Professor Media. And that is another good thing, because for us, it actually makes a bridge for us to marshal all those reforms activities more properly. I can assure you that just Saturday we had a very good meeting where he told us their conversation with the president, and all of them were positive for our sector. Thank you for listening, and I believe that this program is very good to work, because as a practitioner, you should not be hearing a third-party news or a social media news. I believe this background is very important, so that all of us can actually take importance of it and make use of them. Having said that, what will now be the role of the ministry and the committee For me, it's a simple word. It's supposed to be complementary. There must be an handshake. That is the only thing that we need to do. A situation whereby we have insinuation of competition, it doesn't matter. If you look at our sector today, as I'm going to be rolling out some data, you are going to see that we need not to be fighting on anything. Across profession, or within profession, among professions, there is a lot of job to be done. If one of us are given each aspect of the job, we cannot finish it. Once a while, I'm fighting. So for me, I want to first do my call to action. After sharing all this background, I will encourage and advocate that NSAP to use this golden jubilee celebration to actually lead the movement that will foster peace among all the practitioners in this livestock sector. Be it animal production, animal scientists, technologists, and veterinary. For the first time, I want us to have a joint program together to honor Mr. President. And I will say that I'm looking at a national summit on livestock reforms and development. Please, I want to request NSAP to do that. And at the dinner on that particular day, let all of us that belong to that sector honor Mr. President. We are going to make it happen. We can do it. And I believe for the first time, let animal scientists, animal production, and health sit around the same table in the presence of the president to honor him what has done for the system. Let me fast track my discussion and quickly go to issues that has to do with individuals around us. When you look at the trajectory of what I've painted, it requires the positioning of our associations and individuals. For you to be part of the future, you need to take a decision now. So the way livestock is being practiced in this country is fast changing. And then you see some of the figures that we have, about 48% of our households in Nigeria are actually involved in livestock farming. If you are 250 million, you are talking about 100 million people. That is the life of people in our hands that we need to impact, either locally at a community level. And I can tell you for today that Nigeria has almost 1 billion population of livestock all put together. Almost 1 billion. Now, the global population of livestock stood at around 24 billion. So that's according to FAO. When you take 1 out of 24, you cannot say that this country is supposed to be serious about its livestock sector. So meaning that a lot of opportunities are actually going to be in the livestock sector, and then we need to quickly look at how we can create value for people to see. So I'm recommending and I'm calling on NSAP again to take rightful position in changing the narrative by making sure that we start rolling climate smart and circular resilient production practices that can support the present production and the future production. So in all of this, what I'm trying to do as fast as I can do is to actually lay background for my topic. And my topic today is to actually share some perspectives on circular and bioeconomy as it relates to livestock production. Let me say that this particular topic, I look at it and it's bicameral. When you look at circular livestock production, it's a topic on its own. When you look at bioeconomy, it's a topic on its own. When they combine the two, for me, to come and I look at the English, but it's okay. Maybe they actually look at my background because I've committed over 10 years in national biotechnology, dealing with livestock, biotechnology, and bioeconomy. And when they look at the other side of bioeconomy, I've been talking about business to business Nigeria, science to business Nigeria. Maybe they look at it and say, how can we actually give them the arguments to crack? I'll try as much as possible to split them and be able to actually get to a reasonable conclusion. Let me start by telling us that it is on record that our production system presently is colonized by linearity. What that one means is that start to finish, you want to see end to end, it must start with an input and it will end in waste. That is the beginning. And worldwide, the approach now is circular. And when you adopt circularity, you create more value. So, and what does that one mean? Many African countries are actually still investing in their production system, including Nigeria, my country. So when you look at that production system, people that are practitioners, Many of them are not experts, they are investors. And they will have the expert that are supposed to be speaking to them and guide them, and they are not doing our work. We need to own up to our responsibility and be ahead of them. Circularity is indeed an end-to-end approach that is a need to create a new opportunity for us in the sector. It is on record that the livestock sector alone contributes about 14.5% of greenhouse gases globally. What that one means is that some of us in the livestock sector, we cannot be talking about climate change and we are not on the city. Does that make sense to us? Hello? Am I communicating at all? People are going to be discussing climate change and people from the livestock sector are not sitting. It's not correct. Because clearly, from our sector alone, 14.5% of the global aggregate of greenhouse gases is being generated. So how can you conclude that conclusion without 14.5%? It's not proper. So NSAP should actually put an eye on this and see that as we move on, these are areas of challenge, these are things that we need to ask questions. Why is it done this way? Where is our sector? So when we used to be a subsector, different from today that we are a sector, and we need to actually have that recognition. Moving forward, we're going to see that when you are looking at circular livestock production, is based on the circular economy principle aimed at minimizing waste, reducing reliance on external inputs, and optimize resource use. The focus is on keeping resources in use for as long as possible through recovery and generating new materials and a lot of that. I will not bore you with that. However, the circular bioeconomy for livestock have the potential of greenhouse reduction of up to 30%, enhance productivity by 20%, and improve resource management by nothing less than 15% if it is adopted. Well, in this context, there are things that are very important that I know some of us are practicing, but there is a special way we need to do it differently. So some of them that actually assist us in circular livestock practices include efficient manure and feed management. So when you look at that, let me pause a bit. For some of us that are actually very vast in nutrition, you understand that one of the fundamental things that are very important for a professional, not a layman, not a quack now, not somebody that just own a feed mill now, is that you need to understand the bioenergetics of that feed. Meaning that whatever you need to do to your animal, you need to know the kind of energy that is going to be created at different levels. The first source of that energy is your gross energy. And that gross energy is coming from the feed you are giving to the animal. That feed you are giving to the animal, the kind of energy that is chemical energy. You agree with me? So, when it is being fed to the animal, if you have fed 10 kg and the animal actually intake only 8 kg, it is only 8 kg you can account for. That too has gone. In circularity, I'm giving you some principles for you to understand that 10 must be equal to 10. You are starting with 10 because of the waste that the animal is not taking that. 2 kg has already gone, 20% gone. I mean, so you move forward. And when you move forward, what is expected? After the consumption, there must be digestibility. Many of our actions and our research in this part of the world is stop at that. Why? What is being digested actually has a waste component. The waste component of digestibility is that of the feces, the fecal. Am I making sense? Now you move forward, then there is going to be metabolism. When metabolism comes in, you are going to have catabolism and metabolism, and protein is going to be excreted in terms of urine and ammonia. When you add the two of them, again, energy is being lost. I'm starting from energy, from gross energy, I'm going down. What is required of you as an expert is to be targeting your net energy, which is going to be two components, net energy for maintenance and net energy for production. Am I making any sense? You see where we start, you see where we are going. As a professional, I'm not saying as a people leader now. Get me right. I said I'm talking to people from knowledge standpoint. So if your target is what is going to be remaining for the maintenance of that animal and productivity of that animal, then your 10 kg that when you check the energy, it's giving you, for example, 5 megajoule. Should actually be giving you 5 megajoule, 4 megajoule, 3 megajoule in terms of net energy for production and maintenance. If your target is not that area, then there's a problem. Let me tweak it a bit. What might happen in my climate? The formula I just gave to you and will get the net energy is ideal for America, for Europe. Reason being the fact that many of the animals are not being subjected to stress. Another component that is very important for us that we now look at is the stress. What happens when animals are already stressed? Then there is what we call hypothalamic pituitary axis that is going to be activated in the brain. That is the hypothalamus. When that one happens, you are going to see that the animal on the side of being physical status is going to have behavioral disorder. It will actually be disturbed and discomforting, panting, sweating, and a lot of things. However, that is physical. At the hormonal level, there's going to be distortion and there will be dysfunction. So that is why in this part of the world, we have two parts that are actually very bad. Because when you are targeting the net energy I mentioned before, you are not accounting and not making provision for stress. And all our animals, I can confess to you, are living under stress. A stress environment, and for us that are actually into genetic engineering, genetic resources, we could not have a complete nexus when we are not discussing epigenetics. That is why epigenetics is very core in our own discussion. But let me leave that. Let me continue what I'm doing. Now, when you have that stress and you have the HPA axis being activated, are you getting it? Hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis in the brain. Then, on one side, when the hormone is distorted, it's linking you up back to infertility. You have a production loss, and now you are actually having infertility issue. On this side too, that the animal is not optimal. You cannot say a restless animal should go for breeding. For example, so many of these are the things that are applying. Continue to ask questions. Why are we not having the productivity? Why are our animals not productive? A lot of people are speaking English around it, but the basics are not very clear. So when the animal is now dealing with stress, you know what happens? All the net energy that's supposed to go for maintenance and productivity is going to the management of stress. And when you have that in an environment like ours, and we are not looking at it, and we are not looking at circularity, we are not looking at the bioeconomy. In fact, I must confess to you that the microbial population is going to be altered. And a lot of things can actually even go further to affect the DNA of those animals. So, if you have heterocy for genetic gain, easily you can lose it. Because of what I've just described. So, in coping with that, the future is very clear to say we need to move from a linear system to a circular system. In that circularity, what are the key components of that circularity? I just mentioned one, which has to do with only feed now. Issue of management of waste is very important because it's a function of how many CO2 are you releasing from the farm to the environment. And you are going to be measured for that. Then, what are the solutions we can actually have is crop livestock integration. As of today, our farmers and herders are fighting. Am I correct? But we have never sat down and teach them in real time crop livestock integration. Technically, that's a solution. Technically. But we have never seen it. We need to say, let's talk to them, don't fight, and the only thing, or the major thing, the government do is to actually look at, okay, go and fight them because they are, but we are not settled the fundamental issues. People from knowledge standpoint, like scientists, you know that when there is a manifestation of a disease, there will have been a pathogen, and there will have been a causative. Am I correct? So if you don't look at that and look at it as an service, we are not social scientists. We are not saying social scientists are not correct. They are talking about what they can see, but as scientists, we have more insights. And then we need to put up that technical to change a lot of narrative. When you read some things about livestock on the social media, you wonder, are we not having professionals again? To let people know, people talk politically about livestock, and they will believe it is now time for people to start standing that narrative. We can actually use alternative energy. One part of the reason, there is no reason many of the farms will actually be using fossil fuel. There is no reason. Many of the farms. Let me give you an instance. When I joined the minister, I said to Honorable Minister, I said, we are looking at food security. Sir, can you listen to me for a while? He said, go ahead. I said to him that when you have food security without nutrition security, you are in trouble. He said yes. And it was clearly explained. When you take a kg, just a kg of a bag, and what you give back in the toilet is about 900 grams. What are we talking about here? Unfortunately, that feces that we are actually using ourselves as a throughput machine to produce in the soccerways now are not being used for anything. You have wasted something that can actually become a higher dense food. And you have used yourself as a production and factory and a throughput. And you have actually wasted your time by going to toilet severally. And what you have deposited there is not being used. What a waste. So the same thing we have been doing to ourselves is what we have actually applied to livestock sector. A lot of waste is going on. And that is why we cannot account for a lot of changes. And we need to do that. Let me at least stop by and discuss a bit about livestock economy and know that what can actually give us that kind of economy is firstly for us to actually focus on sustainable feed production system, waste to wealth innovation, the use of bio-based material, bioenergy production, circular economic principle, biotechnology and bioinformatics, diversify and sustainable protein production, climate adaptation, and climate change. When you look at livestock, circular livestock and discussion, and you look at bioeconomy, one common denominator is found in between the two of them, and that is the issue of greenhouse gases emission. Remember, in the rumen, what happens? A lot of fermentation, enteric fermentation goes on, and then there is a creation of gas. So if you kindly show the slide where you have the enteric fermentation. 95% of what is being released as greenhouse gases come out as in terms of belching from a cow. Belching. 95%. So I want to challenge us now. How do we calculate the CO2 emission of our cows that are roaming around? If 95% of what we want to capture is being belched around, we don't even know when it was belched. How do we, as a country, become a country that can trade in the carbon market? Tell me. So that is what we are doing. Only 5% people come out as like fat. 95% is belching. And that is critical. So for us, it becomes important for us to actually look at what can we do differently, and then be able to provide a sustainable solution to greenhouse gases. And in doing that, that is a call to action for NSAP. Honestly speaking, we cannot continue to be using linear method. So all this waste that is being generated, can we capture it? Yes. Can we sequestrate them? Yes. How can we capture it? The knowledge are with you. Why are we not doing it? I don't know. Do we need to do it now? Yes. Is there a future demand for it? Very, very important. Are we going to be doing the same thing and expect a different result? That was stupidity. As an association, what do we do differently? We need to take it up now, looking at the future and start taking action from now. So the use of maintained feed additives can actually assist. And then we actually look at nitrate-based supplements, organic enzymes. Okay? Another punishment for our animals. If human being is being injected or being treated, you will say when you get home, take a rest. Am I correct? Have you seen where they are doing mass vaccination in Nigeria of cows? It is being done under the sun. And the animal that is about to be vaccinated has been beaten more than 50 times. It's restless. When it's struggling, they grab him and they just give him them. for God's sake. Like maybe we are in another jungle, different from the animal science production practices that we know, that we read. Okay? If you have even done that and leave the animal and said in the evening, take some supplements, it will be better. There are some vaccines and injections that as an human being, when you take it, you say, when you get home, take XYZ supplement. Many of our animals have never been supplemented except in the poultry sector. So, we need to actually change our ways and see that in human circularity, there must be something that we need to do. There cannot be improved productivity without a planned reproductivity and sustainable breeding plan. What a country. We are talking about having about 1 billion animals all together, livestock, poultry, everything together. And as a country, as of today, we don't have species-specific national breeding programs. Tell me one that is coming. So, like we are 250 million people that even have laws and legislation, and we are doing the way we are doing. How much more our animal and livestock kingdom that has no plan program? And me and you are actually expecting results? No, it will not just happen. So, it must not be national breeding program generally. It must be species specific. Because what is required for each of them are different. We must be able to know how to breed for purpose. If you are not breeding for purpose and breeding, I usually call it raping. The animals are raping themselves. Am I making any sense? One is going, he met another one on the road. The genetics of this one, he doesn't know this one. I just like you and the rape and go. And what are you taking to market? A product of adultery. Oh my God. And what will now be the genetic construct of that bastard? When you continue to consume bastard animal, what happens? I always say this in NSAP, Ashland, and every other place, not in the political area. Because I usually tell some of them that, well, we can be eating meat together, but when I'm eating this meat, something is telling me that many things are not for me. I'm not talking about processing. When you get to market yourself, you want to buy meat as an animal production expert, and the man that is selling meat is using his knife to pursue and portray and drive away flies. He's not washing it to next. He said, I will still give you price, and started cutting it for you, and you have no option. You can't continue this way. That is not what we're supposed to have as a country. So, for the bastard became, it is high time as a professional that we draw a line. That is my point. And then the circularity that becomes very, very important. We need to select and breed climate smart livestock with higher feed conversion, leading to low emission of greenhouse gases of products. NSAP is hereby challenged to lead this movement. NSAP have almost every expert. Can we actually start thinking about the livestock of the future? Can we call any livestock? When you look at the global nomenclature metrics, can we say any livestock in Nigeria today is a Nigerian livestock? I'm very clear about what I'm saying. Many of us were taught about phenotypic characterization. We move on to know a bit about genotypic characterization. But today we are talking about genomic selection and characterization. How many of the animals are genomically characterized? Is it like color because it is white, we call it white FuLafia? You are going to be disappointed when you get to the genome level. So why will you now say we are using that kind of animal for research? And you want to get the same exact result somebody is getting in Canada for an animal that is genetically diluted. So where are we coming from? Where are we going? So when we know the facts, when we lock ourselves in this room for the next remaining 10 minutes I have, if I stay up to that, We need to actually leave this place and look at ourselves in a very, very hard way. So that when we get out here, at our different areas of influences, at school, at office, we start changing our way. Can you be proud of the country of over 250 million people that we go on an annual basis to Rome to attend animal genetic resources engagement, and they will consistently be on the observative level because we are lack data to present? Are we proud of that? I am not proud of that. Because several at international engagement, I personally have been consulted. So I think it's time for us to actually look at what we need to do differently. It is imperative for Nigeria's livestock sector to tap into the global carbon markets and take full advantage through effective livestock data collection and database management. I've mentioned a lot of things that may make us to feel what's going on in this sector. But now, I want to actually talk about opportunities. One of the greatest opportunities, I mentioned to us before, that livestock is contributing 14.5% of the global GHG. That is greenhouse gas. And for us to actually take full advantage, those farmers that are actually raising the animal does not know how to even measure greenhouse gas emission. It beckons on us as practitioners to actually take that advantage. I'm making a clear case to NSAP now. There are things that are supposed to be sustaining association like ours that is being the way it's been done in US, Canada, and Europe. You must have a means of generating sustainable income. Part of that is for actually association like NSAP with a lot of experts to sit down and see how we want to tap into the carbon market. Local farmers cannot do that. They can't understand it. But we can leverage on our nationwide spread to put up a system that will allow us to start capturing carbon. And at the same time, have database to track it. For you to go into the carbon market, you must go with data. When they show you this particular carbon pricing instrument around the world for 2024, you will see clearly that Nigeria is blank. Look at Nigeria. It's only South Africa that has started having footprints. This is a collective call on NSAP, ASAM, the YAS, all association to make sure that in the next 2-3 years, that particular place is dotted. Let's even start dotting it. We are not saying we want to compete, not competition yet. Can we start even from our teaching and research farms to have data of carbon that is being sequestrated, the one that is being absorbed, that we can actually monitor, have it, and then be able to go into the carbon market for trade. Until when we do that, and then for us to do that, it becomes very important to know 3 levels of practice. The first one we can do, I will read that aspect. For Nigeria's livestock sector to play active role in the global carbon markets and end carbon credit through livestock sector. You know, I said it's a problem, 14.5. We are converting that problem to opportunity now. The following steps are important. 1, partner with a carbon credit program. There are existing programs around the world. In my paper here, I actually mentioned some of them. Agrocarbon is there, Nori is there, grassroots carbon is there. Those are existing platforms. Number 2, we have a responsibility to measure and verify emission reduction. How are we reducing it? Again, I gave a case study of what can happen. Just try as much as possible to start from the teaching and research farm. Then extend this to the community. They are farms to consult for, they can start. And the next thing is for us to sell the carbon or sell the credits or carbon markets. Credits can be sold in voluntary markets to companies offsetting their emission or compliance markets where governments regulate emission. Prices of carbon today varies from $10 to $50. That is per ton. And by 2050, it is projected that it is going to be like $238 per ton. You know, that is how Bitcoin started. And we say it's nonsense. That is how many things happen, and we say it's nonsense. You can see this, let me see that graph again. Don't think it is only us in Nigeria that is looking at this graph. People are looking at it across the world. When they finish with all those blue area and purple area, they are coming into Africa. And we are going to sit down here doing nothing, and that opportunity will elude us. NSAP, please, I'm actually challenging us to actually have an advanced thinking so that we are not going to be playing a local game. We will actually change a lot of things. Finally, let me once again congratulate NSAP for granting me this platform to discuss building opportunity, inheriting circular livestock farming during this growing economy. It is important to note that there are challenges that needed to be addressed to deliver circularity in the livestock sector. This includes limited critical, horizontal, and vertical infrastructure. I agree with that. Lack of livestock species-specific innovation and technology innovation platforms. Then, limited commercializable research and development outcomes, especially in areas of biotechnology, waste conversion technology, and sustainable feed alternatives. Regulatory challenges as government develop policy to support sustainable practices while balancing the national food and nutrition security. Again, I know for this, there's going to be a trade-off. But the point is that we have our influence area we can cover. Don't let us start big, let us start small. Then by the time we dotted it in, say, 36 states, these are even one center. We have started something, that's my point. And this infrastructure we are saying are not available. Some are available, they are underutilized. And I'm actually going to speak to that quickly. And in my conclusion, as I wrap up my talk today, the circular livestock bioeconomy is an exciting and evolving field that seeks to integrate biological resources from livestock into a more sustainable and circular economic models. By focusing on waste minimization, renewable energy sustainable feed, and byproduct utilization, it offers a pathway to a more resource-efficient, eco-friendly, and economically viable livestock production system that Nigeria deserves. It is this success is going to depend on technology innovation, policy support, and social acceptance. Although livestock production emits greenhouse gases, like we have been saying, any carbon credits that can be sold in voluntary and compliance markets should be our new target. That is my point. It's a problem. We are now saying, okay, we are ready to gather this problem and be able to convert it and tell them that we are managing it. Because all what you need for carbon markets or carbon credits is your data and certificate of compliance of reducing emission. When you can show that evidence, that is your credit. So, and we can convert the environmental benefits to productivity credits. That becomes important. And I want us to actually ask it about sandbag conversion of environmental benefits into productivity credits. When we understand it from that way, NSAP should immediately develop a system that ensures the selection and breeding of genetically efficient species of livestock and breeds across the value chain, fed with nutrient-rich, dense, and efficient feeds, raised under a climate-smart production system, with its product harvested in a processing facility powered by renewable energy, where the animal processing waste are efficiently rendered and recycled into valuable byproducts, and the products are packaged in recyclable packaging material. That is the entire chain. You must also have a breed that is efficient. You give them nutrient-dense feed that is smart. Then you keep them in a climate-smart environment. And at the same time, when you are harvesting them, you don't go and use a facility with fossil fuel. You can see how you are cutting down emission level by level. Just a solar can actually do that. When you are packaging them, you are packaging them in a material that is recyclable. So when you follow that pathway and chain, definitely you will have reduced greatly greenhouse gases. And let me just use do a case study before I wrap up finally. I have some partners in Qatar, and what they do is to actually look at animal processing waste across the world. When they harvest it, you know what they turn it to? They turn it to what they call bow oil. There is a special oil that they call a bow oil now. And the waste, other waste actually go into fertilizer. I have an invitation from them. I'm going to extend the same invitation to Mustapha at the right time when they come to Nigeria in April. I think some of them join me in this today because I said I'm going to make what they are doing a case study. You can see the production facility for the synopsis of animal waste rendering. They are not talking about the real animal now. It is the waste they are looking for. The bone, the teeth, everything you are throwing away. In such a way that it can now be converted into other byproducts. So, and beyond fertilizer, these are companies that are ready to come to Nigeria with their own investments and partner with states, with private sector, anybody that wants to invest in this and co-create a value and run with it. These are kind of things that is important for us, and we need to actually look at it. NSAP should finally lead the change and mobilize all human resources to accomplish this feat to unlock additional $500 million from carbon market by 2030. As of today, the global carbon market is about $1 trillion. When you look at the total population and the work that we're talking about, the president is saying we want to unlock 33 trillion naira. Through this initiative of circularity, we can add another $500 million in the next 2030. From now between now and 2030. That is something that is achievable if you are actually doing what I just posted. And my sincere appreciation actually goes to the leadership of NSAP and the organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. I don't want to leave this stage as one of the talkers without doing anything. And it is on this note, I want a situation whereby some of my talk are actually converted to action. Some of the action I want us to take immediately is that this year submissions that we have from researchers generally, we have looked at them, and I want NSAP to select the best 15 that are actually looking at circular livestock farming, circularity, and at the same time are looking at bioeconomy. That's the first stage. The second stage is to make sure that that 15 companies, I want them to actually send it over to my organization. My organization are going to actually do another eligibility criteria to select the best 5. That 5, we are taking them into a global incubation and accelerator program. And I can commit to a grant of $5,000 to support that. And I think the journey to the circular life economy starts from here. I thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Popoola. Can we sustain the applause, please?